Hello everyone, welcome to Consciousness 101. So this channel is for the seekers of truth, for the mystics, for those that want to understand the mysteries behind the scenes. Okay, so our first topic is going to be nothingness. So I believe that this will be one of the most mind-blowing topics that we are going to get into, but I believe as a human race we are ready for this kind of information. And someone once mentioned that consciousness is the new frontier. So we've discovered all there is to discover about the physical world. Previously we thought that if we were to break out of poverty, out of slavery, out of war, out of any form of suffering that we might have encountered, that would have been the answer and the end of our psychological suffering. And yet, as the world events unfold right before our eyes, we begin to see and understand that despite the wealth, despite the accomplishments, despite everything that we seem to be doing right as a society, there's still an undisputable amount of unhappiness, of deep-seated sorrow, of deep-seated confusion, of deep-seated feeling of being lost. And we are now compelled to look elsewhere for answers, because remember, we thought that the wealth would be the answer. We thought that the positions of power would be the answer. We thought that the marriage, the car, the career would be the answer. And to the most part, we are beginning to realize that there is a certain dimension that is missing from that. And as long as that dimension is missing, we are unable to experience fulfillment, peace, joy, and the contentment that we seem to really be seeking out of life. Okay, so let's get right into it. So this topic, this channel is going to be breaking down consciousness, which is the undiscovered dimension of life by the majority of human beings. And as a result of this aspect of life not being discovered by people, we are suffering as a human species as we are. And not only are we suffering, but the world is suffering along with us. The earth is suffering along with us. The animals are suffering along with us, everything that exists. And we also inflict further suffering on each other. So let's dive into it quickly. I just wanted to give you a background, because we will be, dissecting this topic of consciousness, and we'll be breaking it down into, small topics and videos. And yes, nothingness has to be the beginning of all things. All right. So what is nothing? It is a flow of energy. So if we were to paint a picture of what this nothingness would look like, it would, and remember, once again, we are describing information from a dimension that is foreign to ours. So, for example, our dimension seems to be ruled and governed by the five senses, which is not really so, but it appears to be so, and therefore we are trapped in in those dimensions. So the limitation of this five sense dimension says to us that this particular dimension, which I'll be talking to you about today, is foreign, and as a result, the language is different, and as a result, it's difficult, for me to even explain these things to you using words, using, language. from this dimension, because the dimension to which I'm referring is one that operates under completely different laws, rules, and all of that, yet is a very, very pivotal dimension which we need for ourselves, for our everyday life, to be able to get out of this state that we are in, that feeling of being trapped that we are currently experiencing in this world. All right. So those to whom this channel is aimed at will understand this. Those who are not yet ready may not get it, and that's also fine as well. It is what it is. Okay, so let's go into it. So if we were to paint a picture of nothingness, we would do this. Why? It's because nothingness is like a wave of energy. Or we could say waves of energy. So this is essentially what we are dealing with. So we are beginning to understand that nothingness, or nothing, is not really nothing after all. It's nothing because it does not speak to our five senses. Do you see that? It's nothing because it cannot be described by our five senses, because we cannot touch it, we cannot, feel it with our body, we cannot comprehend it mentally, we cannot see it, we cannot hear it, with the five senses. Yet, surprisingly, nothingness can be heard, but not with your five senses. With another dimension of you, you're able to hear nothingness. It's a sound, but it's not an audible sound. You see what I'm talking about? The limitations with the different dimensions. You cannot see it, yet you can see it. You cannot feel it, yet you can feel it. You cannot hear it, yet you can hear it. You just cannot tap into it with your five senses. But this is how it would look if you were to paint a picture of it. Perhaps you might be able to do a better job of painting the picture than me. So within this wave, so we'll say, for example, once again, we are using words, limitations. We've got this waves. You see, it's almost as if like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe many lines or layers, or many waves. You see, it's like many waves of energy, and just take it at that. You will get it at some point. And within these waves themselves are actually made up of they are made up of something along these lines. Okay. Something like this. So this is what makes up these lines. So if you were to zoom in on these waves, these lines of waves, you would find this. So it's things, if we once again were to paint a picture of them, they look like vinyls. Those old music records, the vinyl records. Yeah, it looks something along those lines. It's like circular motions of energy. It's like circles, It's like, yeah, it's like something like this, and it's constantly in rotation. Okay, it's constantly moving, and within the circle there's another circle, and within the circle there's another circle, and within the circle there's another circle. So excuse my painting, which is quite limited, but I really enjoy using this medium because it makes it easier for me to articulate this message in a way that is much, much easier than if I were to try and compose something else. So this that we're looking at here, it's how it would appear if it were a picture. So there's many circular motions of energy within circular motions. It's like many circles within many circles, and on 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 they go. And there's some kind of order that is able to create those particular kind of waves, such that, for example, if we were to say, the circles are like this. If we now imagine if we had zoomed in to the one wave. Okay, so the circles themselves, they appear and disappear. Okay, they pop up and they pop out. They pop in and then they pop out. They appear and disappear. So every time they appear, if one appears here, for example, then this wave would be having an ascension motion of some sort, would appear to be having an ascension motion, and then it would also appear to be having an ascension motion. Say, for example, if there was a circle here, and then the wave was maybe perhaps going this way, and then it just so happened that this circle disappeared, and then the wave would immediately go down and find another circle that or another circle would now become more prominent, because this one perhaps was more prominent at this time. So another circle would then become more prominent, which would then create the wave to appear to be moving in this particular way. Remember, the waves themselves are not really going from the left to the right. This is just a picture that we are painting using our world of reference, our scope of reference, which is a very limited one. Okay, so that's just how it happens. So basically, nothingness is like what is this? It's like a movement of energy that is constantly in motion at a speed that we are not able to fathom, because it's so fast. There's no tool in our world to be able to measure it, and so subtle that we don't even see it. It's constantly moving in, around, and through us, and funny enough, it is who we are, yet we do not notice it. It's not that it's not there. It's not that it's insignificant, because after all, it is the creator of all that is. Nothing is the source of all things. No thing. Remember, it's nothing because we have no means in our world to describe it or to attribute it. Basically, we are calling it nothing because we can't take it and cook with it, put it in a pot and eat it. We can't attach any particular tangible value to it. Hence, we refer to it as nothing, no thing, but it is something. And once again, the minute I say something, I'm restricting, I'm reducing, I'm diminishing it. I'm stripping it of its true essence, which is beyond words. So bear with me and understand that words are highly limited. I am limited in my ability to convey this message, but I am doing the best that I'm able to. And I'm not learned in quantum physics or anything of that nature to the effect that I might be able to explain this. And once again, to even try and study this phenomenon through the lenses of science might also pose a limitation, because then once again it's concepts. And you know, in the saying from the Tao, which says the Tao which can be explained is not the Tao. You see, the minute we take this whole dimension that we're referring to and bring it into words, a whole lot of limitations come rushing in, but we are compelled to find a way to communicate this message to each other, because we are at that phase right here and now. We are at that time. The time is now to begin to explore this dimension such that we are able to find the answers that we need as a society. Because without access to this dimension, we are not going to be able to, we have hit a wall pertaining to our ability to find answers for the problems that we are facing as a society. So this is what this is all about. So basically, you see that. So that's energy in motion. So nothingness is energy in motion. And once again, the minute we're calling it energy in motion, we are really stripping it of what it truly is. But let these words be a signpost taking you there. They are not going there themselves. They're just directing you as to where it is that you can go. So there is something, a subtle force, a subtle power at work, constantly in motion and at work, permeating everything that exists, because it is the source of all that exists, and it is in itself all that is. Therefore, everything that exists is essentially that force manifested in that particular form. Yet how the process begins, this is how it starts in this weird way. Okay, so this is the chaos that in the beginning there was a void and all of that. This is the void and chaos and whatever. What could you say? How would you describe this? You know, it's weirdness, you know, but weirdness to us. So that's basically nothingness. Now we have experienced a paradigm shift where we are now understanding that nothingness or nothing is actually not nothing, is actually very valuable. It actually is very important, and there's something there. So from today onwards, going forward, no longer are we going to be, when we look at something, like when you look at nothing, are we going to be wondering why are we doing that? Because when we look at nothing, we are now going to begin to understand that we are looking at the source of all that is, or at least we are very, very close, or at least we have positioned ourselves to be very receptive to that which source is. Nothingness. Another way of describing it would be space. And it's not the space as in like the distance between something and something. It's just space. Nothingness. Nothingness. No thing. But now you understand the space itself is empty in our words when we say there's nothing. You put C, there's space between this paper and the camera, there's space. Yet, now we know that between the camera and this paper, there is this, the space, that which we call empty, is not something that is like a void, that is lifeless, that is dead. You see, words, you're gonna understand as we keep going along. Words, 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 words. But you will get me, and once you get me, you will understand also when words become limited, that you will be able to still, go further than where the words have taken you, because the words are just here to open the door for you, and you are the one that's going to walk out and go free. It's not empty. It's not empty. It's not empty. There is something here. There is something. If you were to even tap into that other dimension of yourself, you will notice that when you lift your hand up in the air, there is something there. It's not empty. You feel something, but that feeling that you are having, it's not a feeling, a 5 sense feeling. It's a 6th sense feeling, perhaps, if we were to call it that way, or perhaps a 10th sense feeling. But it's something. You are sensing something. So nothingness is not empty. It's space, and now we know that space is not empty. There is nothing that is empty in this world. Nothing. Emptiness is not empty. Emptiness is replete with presence of source energy. Okay, so nothingness is source, is the source of all that is the source of all we are. And nothingness hails from a different dimension than that of the 5 senses. Yet nothingness is the creator of this dimension, which is of the 5 senses, and nothingness is itself all that which you see within the world of the 5 senses. We will go deeper into this so-called rabbit hole, but we are not going to get lost. We will go there, and we'll be able to come back fully equipped to deal with life itself. So space is not empty. Space is filled with vinyl, looking like circles, moving around, popping up, disappearing and appearing, moving in motions like waves, with no place to start and with no place to end, no beginning and no end. They just appear and disappear. We will delve deeper into the appearing and the disappearing on another video. Today we're just focusing on this nothingness. So nothingness is source. Source is God. Are you surprised? I hope not. You saw this coming, right? Nothingness is source. Source is God. So the word God comes with many limitations, because God, the word God, is a word which was coined by men. in a patriarchal society, in an era which this particular description or understanding of God would have best suited that particular society. So we are not here to, bash or to throw in any kind of shade to the already, established notion of who God is, but we are here to bring more understanding. We are here to say that, hey, not only is God dead, but God is more. For example, have you ever considered the fact that every nationality or every race or every nation, their idea of who God is very much similar to someone of that particular race or nation? Have you ever considered that? For example, this is not a racial comment. This is very, very much an example, and I hope you will take it as such. The Indian Hindu people, their God is essentially, or their gods are mostly essentially Hindu. The African nation, their God is essentially very African. The white or the Caucasians, essentially their God is white, is a white man, and then on and on and on, so which then begs this question: when we come together, what are we going to do? Whose God is better, or whose God is the real true God and whose God is not the true God? Do you get what I'm saying? So the point here is that God has its limitation. The concept God has its limitation for that reason. The fact that the minute you think of God, you are thinking of a man. And depending on which culture you are from, that God becomes, it's almost as if it's like a man from that culture. He can be jealous, possessive, he can be frightening, he can be, this and this and that. He has personality attributes and all of that. You see, that's a human being, essentially. It's like a very powerful, yet albeit human being. Do you get what I'm saying? So there is a certain element of truth to that, yet there's a gross diminishment of the true essence of the being to which the word is referring. For example, when you say source, you immediately just begin to perhaps associate the word with source, that which is the beginning of all that is, that which from which or from where all things come, and then there's not many limitations to that. You do not automatically ascribe any personality issues to it. You automatically do not. So I'm not saying that do not use the word God. Use the word God. I will be using the word God going forward. So I'll use the word God, I'll use the word source, I'll use the word energy, universe, and all of that interchangeably. But I am just helping you here to also understand that the minute I use the word God, do not find yourself in a situation where you are put, or you have placed yourself in a box which will limit your understanding of whatever message that I'll be conveying as we go along. Okay, so nothingness is source and source is God. So because that's it. I just wanted to just blow your mind a little bit, just give you a little bit of a paradigm shift, I hope this was not too much information, only a few, pictures here and there. And yeah, I hope this will be able to sort of like make you question, because the minute you begin to question your current reality, or the limitations, your current limitations, the minute a new dimension becomes open to you, and the minute you begin to have access to other faculties of yourself of which you were not aware. And I don't want you to get too lost in trying to unlock any potential capacities or abilities and anything of that nature. I just want you to focus on nothingness, because remember, this nothingness at best is all allowing. And the reason why it's all allowing, and the reason why we are able to say it's all allowing, it's because, let's face it, we've been here, we've been doing all that we've been doing, and all that's been happening has been happening, and nothingness seems to just be sitting there in the background, busy, okay, not sitting perhaps, just chilling there in the background, doing its usual thing, rotating, that whole, circular motion, and just letting all things be, letting all things be, letting all things be. So today, our meditation will be on that, on nothingness. Nothingness. That space which is not empty, yet it feels empty and it feels good. But when we fill ourselves with that space as we take deep breaths, we feel full, we feel replete. So let our meditation today be that of taking those deep breaths and just relaxing somewhere for that few minutes, for those few minutes, and taking deep breaths, deep, slow breaths, and ponder or meditate or focus on nothing, knowing that nothing is the source of all that is, reuniting and reconnecting with all that is, with nothing, with that source, with that higher power, which is nothing, no thing. So let your meditation be that of coming out of concepts, coming out of the five senses, and not necessarily coming out of your body which you inhabit. No. You are coming out of the mental limitation imposed by the five senses, and you are tapping into another dimension. So you're going to breathe in space, nothingness. You're going to breathe that in to your body. You're going to embrace that. But when you do it this time around, you are consciously going to do it, knowing that it's not just nothing that is going into your body. You are breathing in source. You are breathing in life. You are breathing in God. You are breathing in nothingness. A still yet highly vibrant spaciousness. So let that be your meditation today. Tapping into a dimension of nothingness, a dimension where you are not figuring anything out, because this is where the mind ends. This is a dimension where you enter without any of your mental adornment. You enter that space naked in spirit. And when you undress yourself mentally, when you let go, take off all concepts, everything that, all physical things, all ideas, all forms that need to fill your space. When you take all of those off, the only thing that you will have left is nothingness. That is who you are. Sourceness. You are returning to your roots. You are returning to the essence of who you are. Let that be your meditation. Let me know how it goes. Until next time, see you. Goodbye.